Well, Tommy Sheridan joins me now. Do you think you're going to win a seat?
Yes, absolutely, Gordon. Not only one seat, I'm very hopeful that we can win several seats. And the only opinion poll that's been conducted in this election so far that's mentioned Solidarity and myself and Rosemary Byrne has indicated that we would get 7%. That was System 3 in January. So we could be in line for many more than one seat.
How damaging has this whole court case been for you?
I think it's caused problems. The left has divided, there's no doubt about that, and that's unfortunate. But you've got to move on, Gordon. People have choices to make in life, and when an anti-trade union, anti-socialist organisation comes after a socialist, you expect, no, you demand that other socialists stick with one another. I cannot accept that other socialists stuck with Murdoch against me. So it's been damaging. We've moved on. We had a rally last night in Glasgow of over 600, and we're doing well
before
in this
you
election.
move on, I mean, is there anything that you regret about this affair? I mean, clearly you regret what others did. Do you have anything you regret about what you did?
Well, I've already said what I regret is being so naive. I believed that comrades were comrades. I didn't think they would be backstabbers.
But the problem you see, as far as the general public is concerned, is that people just look at the far left and they say, well, look, they were getting their act together. Tommy Sheridan, the SSP, they had quite a few MSPs. And then, as usual, I mean, even though it was very spectacular on this occasion, the far left goes back to what it always does. They just fall out with each other and they end up fighting like ferrets in a sack and they become irrelevant. And that's the big picture problem you've got to confront, isn't it?
Well, I think the public want to have MSPs who are going to raise the issues of poverty and inequality, are going to raise the issues of why Scotland is such a low-pay economy. They want to see MSPs raise issues like carers allowance for carers. That's the issues that Solidarity is raising here, and I think that's a big picture.
You would have
as well,
to accept that this whole affair has tarnished not just your party, but the SSP as well. Both of you come out looking worse from this.
I think the whole affair has caused problems. No one has ever denied that. However, each and every one of us go through times in life where things happen that we don't particularly like to plan for, but you move on, Gordon. The moon keeps coming out every night and you just move on. We're moving on and we're moving up. Solidarity is going to win seats in this election. We're going to have socialists in the Parliament and we're going to rebuild the socialist movement.
Why are you a Scottish nationalist?
Why am I Scottish nationalist?
Yes.
I wasn't aware that I was.
Well, you're calling for independence.
Yeah, a number of people are calling for independence. It doesn't make them Scottish nationalists. I believe in the self-determination of the people of Scotland. I think we're a nation and I think we have the right to govern our own affairs. It doesn't make me a Scottish nationalist. I'm a socialist who's an internationalist.
Well, George Galloway, your blood brother, apparently, according to the newspapers the other day, says he backs you all the way up to the point where there's a referendum on independence, and then he doesn't because he's not a Scottish nationalist.
No, that's not what he said. What he said was he backs a referendum on independence, which is
yes, and he's
very
the opposite way from you.
But then George and I would be in opposite ends of that argument. That's fine. Socialists, are often portrayed as grey, monolithic people who aren't allowed to disagree.
Not recently, mate.
we can have discussion, We can have discussion and we can have debate. George is on a different side of the independence debate from me. I think Scotland should be an independent country and I'll campaign for independence. But I'm a socialist through and through, Gordon, not a nationalist.
What I'm really saying to you is why not get together with George Galloway's Respect Party throughout the UK and build up a presence. I mean, for example, although he's an MP, you could argue that the real reason that there's not more representation of people like yourself down south is simply because there's no PR system as there is in Scotland. So why not just say, right, we're going to get together and campaign for a PR system so we get a representation in Parliament in London of our views?
Because Solidarity is a Scottish party with the Scottish Socialist movement.
But that's what I'm saying. Why, if you're such an internationalist?
Well, we will build links with Respect, with other socialist groups and parties, both in England and across Europe, Gordon. But we are trying to organise a presence for Scottish socialists in the Scottish Parliament. That's what we're confident will deliver, because the Scottish Parliament needs people that are going to raise the issues of poverty and inequality. You had a part in your programme earlier. It was marvellous listening to Peter Butt, who actually apologised for me because he didn't analyse our proposal properly. I was the only member of the Scottish Parliament to bring forward an opposition and a proposal to replace the council tax. That's a progressive income tax, not a flat rate income tax, for goodness sakes. It's useless. It's like a chocolate teapot. What we need is a progressive income tax so that we tax the wealthy more and the pensioners less.
But you still haven't answered my question about independence. I mean, all you've said is that you've done lots of good things in the Scottish Parliament. Well, Jack McConnell would say he's done the same, but he's not in favour of independence. So what I'm saying to you is, doesn't George Galloway's view make more sense? Just internationalists, get everyone together. By all means, you can fight in Scotland and be in the Scottish Parliament. That's not a reason for... Why an independent Scotland?
I think it's a bit unfair. Yeah, you said I never answered your question. I did answer your question. You accused me of being a Scottish nationalist, and I explained I'm not a Scottish nationalist.
All right, you're not a Scottish nationalist. You're a socialist internationalist. Right, why are you in favour of independence as opposed to George Galloway?
I'm believing independence because I think Scotland is a nation and I think we should stand up and take responsibility for our own affairs. I think Scotland should decide not to have nuclear weapons. I think Scotland should decide not to have young lads getting killed in Iraq in illegal wars. I think Scotland should decide not to lock up the children of asylum seekers. And I think that Scotland at this stage in the political evolution has more chance of winning a majority for those decisions here and now. Independence for me, Gordon, isn't an end in itself. It's a means to an end. It's a means to a better and a fairer Scotland and a better and a fairer world. And I think we'll give encouragement to those socialists.
The John McLean argument.
Well, John McLean, of course, is an icon of mine, is an inspiration. I think he's an inspiration for most socialists. He believed in a Scottish Workers' Republic. And, of course, Solidarity believes in the Scottish Workers' Republic. Not because we're better than anyone else, Gordon, but because we want to build alliances with other people.
Which leads me to my next question. You believe in a Workers' Republic. You managed to win the abolition of warrant sales in the first Parliament. I'm sure you would tell me that the reason that local income taxes and an increase in free school meals feature in some of the other parties' manifestos now is because of the campaigning you've been doing. But aren't you increasingly, and indeed the SSP too, sort of voices on the sidelines who do have some influence on the policies of the main parties, but that's a million miles from what you want to be, isn't it? You want a Scottish Workers' Republic. What you've got is the abolition of warrant sales. Very good, but doesn't get you very far in that direction.
There is an old Chinese proverb, Gordon, about the march of 1,000 miles beginning with the first step. Solidarity is not going to be a government after next Thursday, but we're going to be a presence in the Parliament. We're going to be the working class socialist conscience of the Parliament. And I think the presence that I have given over the last 8 years has been important because the issues that you mentioned, scrapping council tax, abolishing warrant sales, free school meals, taking our railways back into public ownership, banning air guns, these are all issues which I've raised and will continue to raise, and I think we'll get more and more support for.
But the other side of that, you see, is that almost all of your 16 proposed bills feature in one form or another, I know you'll say it's still you two, but in one form or another, in the policies of one or all of the larger parties. So why not just vote for them? They've got a chance of actually winning.
None of the larger parties stand for a carer's allowance. None of the larger parties are calling for renationalisation of the railways. None of the larger parties have committed themselves to 30,000 new homes for rent built by councils. So you're wrong. We are raising policies in our 16 main priorities, Gordon, which are unique, some of which are radical, all of which are necessary.
Right, OK. How many seats do you think you'll win?
Well, if we talk about the only opinion poll that has mentioned Solidarity and Tommy Sheridan and Rosemary Byrne's name, we get 7%.
I mean, you said the point. It's because with the smaller parties it's difficult to do polling.
Yeah, it is difficult, Gordon, but you see, the arithmetic of the list is not seen through in any of these polls. You know and I know that if the SNP win a couple of seats in central Scotland, then what does that mean for the list in terms of the percentage? If they win a couple of seats in Glasgow, which is possible, it's going to change the list. I think we've got a chance, a good chance, of 3 or 4 seats, perhaps more.
That could be quite important if it's as close as everyone says. Would you just go it alone or would you back someone else?
We would judge each issue on its merits. Any issue that improves the life for working class people.
You are with Annabel Goldie on that? You'll be pleased to know.
Well, Annabel and I agree in some things, but not very many.
We'll have to leave it there. Tommy Sheridan, thanks very much.